Yay! Welcome to Chitchattin with Becca. Here we are. We'll scooch the computer over a little bit so Amy is in the Chitchattin with Becca and Amy. So Amy is in the shot a little bit better. Amy does like to be in the shot. Oh, you got your button on. I didn't put my button on. Amy's wearing one of our new buttons, which are silly and ridiculous. Our Chit-Chatting with Becca buttons. So welcome everyone and to another fun-filled episode. Today's episode is going to be really fantastic and interesting, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. So we've got Dr. Janet Johnson who's going to be on today, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff about social media and politics and whatnot. So we're going to get right into the mail, and then we're going to hop over and check in with the weather with ponder on weather, because we got some stuff happening in the Gulf, hurricanes that are happening that we need to chit chat about. So we got some correspondences this week from Dina, and we appreciate your correspondences.
Let's see. This says, this card is so not my style, but I could not figure out where to find a postcard to save my life. Ha ha ha.
LOL.
Love the show. So fun. Dina.
So you can get postcards on the Amazon or at gift shops. So there you go. So so we got the mail. So let's pop right on in here with Roy, because I am so interested to see what's going on. Hey, Roy.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Good. It's great. You look like you got your hair cut. Did you get a haircut?
Yeah, from last week I did.
Yeah, it looks nice. I need to get a haircut because my hair's growing. It's too long. I can feel it. It's
we were out enjoying the bike ride, just out enjoying the beautiful day out.
Yeah, it's fantastic outside. We've been sitting out on the back porch. But I did see that when I got done with my run this morning, I had sent you that picture. But I was like, look at the moon. It's coming up with the sun. Isn't that, wait a minute, that's the sun. That's why I was like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, all that smoke kind of filtered into our area this morning, and it was definitely noticeable. It's definitely noticeable more in the mornings than it is in the afternoons.
Yeah, for sure.
We've had below normal temperatures basically for the entire month. We're averaging about 3 or 4 degrees below normal, and I think that trend actually continues. The big story this week is going to be beta in the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, it's moving a whopping 2 miles an hour. And we haven't heard that before from Sally. But it's finally moving west, so it's making a beeline towards Texas. It'll be the 9th tropical system to hit the United States this year alone, which is another record. So this year just keeps breaking records. But yeah, so it looks to be around, Victoria, Corpus Christi area by like Tuesday morning as a minimal hurricane. So it's kind of hard to believe it's only going to increase 15 miles an hour between now and then.
Wow.
But that's what the National Weather Service says. I could say it easily could be a Cat 2 storm, but the main thing is going to crawl, another crawler up the coast as high pressure kind of dies. But we have strong upper level winds here. So that moisture, deep tropical moisture, will actually feed into Dallas, and a lot of areas will actually start seeing rainfall from beta starting on Monday. Obviously, the further south you live in Dallas, you're going to be experiencing heavier rains. The further north, a little bit lighter, but we are going to be getting some rainfall Monday and Tuesday from this system, and that actually brings well below normal temperatures, probably like 20 degrees. We'll spend most of the days in the 60s on Monday and Tuesday, as the high will be like midnight that night.
Wow.
So, yeah, with all the rain and clouds around. And then that kind of shifts away to the east by Wednesday, but we'll still have that cool north flow,
Yep.
And so we'll still be below normal. And then by the following week, by the end of the month, I still see another cold front with another good chance of rain. So, we're already above average for the month, and we have several more shots of rain before the month ends, and I think we stay below normal because the average high is 88, and it's like 75 degrees outside right now.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It was so nice this morning. I was just the slightest bit chilly when I started my run. I was like, this is perfect.
Well, no, I mean, we went on the bike ride. So obviously that was even chillier because you're going like 20 miles an hour. So
right, for sure. Yeah, because I definitely don't run 20 miles an hour.
Yes. Yeah, we were like, we're averaging 3 minute miles or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we can't run that fast.
Yeah, no way. I'm too old for all that kind of running.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like that's what's happening in the weather department. At least we'll get some beneficial rains from this system. We typically don't get any rain from tropical systems because we're so far away. But
it looks like there's something hitting New Orleans right now. What's going on over there?
That's actually this system. It's beta. It was.
Oh.
It got sheared. That's actually betas, but then the actual low is well away from those thunderstorms.
Oh wow!
So no, New Orleans. I mean, Louisiana is going to get hit big time. By the time that actually hits like Corpus Christi and runs up the coast to Houston, we're talking a potential major flood threat. Depending on how far inland it gets, I mean, 5-10 inches easily, no problem, if not more. All up along the Texas coast, because that's what they've already have like voluntary evacuations for Galveston right now. Yeah. But as soon as it hits going past Houston, Louisiana is going to get nailed with this storm because it could really stall out and could really produce another 10 to 20 inches of rain, as what they got in Alabama. But that'll be like, Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, it's going to be a major event. It really is.
That's incredible. Well, we'll keep checking in with you throughout the week and just continue to, if y'all aren't following Ponder on Weather on POW Ponder on Weather on on the Facebook, then y'all need to make sure that you're following him on the Facebook. Yeah, for all your updates, because he does really keep us up to date. So we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Y'all have a good show.
Bye, Roy.
Bye.
Janet is having some issues. The StreamYard isn't compatible with her Mac, so she is setting up her PC now.
Oh, okay. So Janet's having some issues, but that's cool. I'm sorry that the StreamYard is not isn't compatible with her Mac. Her Mac is very fancy, and StreamYard, I guess, is not as fancy as it should be. So, but she's going to set up her PC and she'll get that all working, and then we'll get her on here. Thank you, Helen, for texting us. Dr. Helen, we appreciate you. We still got a lot of stuff to go over before we get Dr. Janet on here. So I want to say happy birthday to Little. She is 12 years old today. She is our sweet lady. She is 12. I don't know where she is. She was in here messing with her bills, and then she went to sleep. We had been outside and she was sleeping. She was full on asleep this morning, and I woke her up for her walk, and she was like, but she did get up and go for it. So it was good because she needs her walk. So it's her birthday. So happy birthday, Little. It is also Jeff Whittington's 50th birthday. So happy birthday, Jeff Whittington, on your 50th birthday. That's a big time thing. So it is also Nathan Prince's birthday. So happy birthday, Nathan. He's 46. And that's right. I'm going to tell people how old y'all are. So happy birthday, Nathan. And we love you very much. Next week is going to be a super fun episode. We're going to have our local bakers. Crestridge Farms Bakery is a little micro bakery. They're a little cottage bakery here, just
Maybe
up the street.
Blocks.
Yeah, just a few blocks up the street from us. We're going to have them on the show to talk about their bakery and how they got started. We're going to talk a little bit about cottage and Texas cottage laws that allow for home-based businesses like that. So that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure to follow us on the Instagrams and the Facebook and on the Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can so you can with all of that stuff.
And they're on crestridgefarms.com.
Yes, crestridgefarms.com. And last night we had one of their baguettes, and we just ate it. Like we just ate the baguette, and it was so delicious, and I couldn't even hardly stand myself.
Out of the oven, we're standing in their front yard, chit-chatting with them and eating. Pretty much had it all, eaten up before we got there. So good stuff. But they do cakes, cookies, all of your breakfast type, things, cinnamon rolls, orange rolls, that kind of good stuff, and just really good breads, good sourdoughs, good all kinds of breads. So good stuff.
I'm talking to Dr. Janet right now. So hold on. I'm just the announcement. Okay. Yeah. So I was just telling Dr. Janet that we're still doing the announcement. So she's got some time to get on here. So I need to make sure to tell Crestridge Farms that StreamYard is not compatible with Mac. So there we go. So you know, we love your correspondence. And we know you want to get a face sticker, and we know that you want a little sticker. So correspond with us so we can send you things and fun things. And we've got a little teaser announcement to do. You know, you can correspond with us and get a button. They've got my face on them, and they're ridiculous. And we'll get some with Amy's face on there too. We might even get some with both of our faces on there. So, and I can see Amy's brain going, please don't drain our bank account with this show, Becca McCourt. Please don't do that. And I say, okay, honey, I'm sorry. We'll wait a little while. But correspond with us because we love it. And we've got swag to give out to people. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we love your correspondence, and we will correspond back with you. So I want to make sure that everybody goes and votes. Yesterday, our democracy and our country lost an American hero in Justice
it's Ginsburg.
Ginsburg. Sorry. My brain is going 5,000 different directions. We lost Justice Ginsburg yesterday, and that was devastating. We lost her to pancreatic cancer, and that is just, it's devastating. So make sure to vote. Make sure that you are registered to vote. You can go just Google, you know, voting, and it will take you to your local site that I have posted throughout the week, all different sites that you can check for voting. You can check to make sure that your registration is up to date. So, and it will also tell you what kind of documentation you need to take with you to vote. So make sure that you are registered to vote. You can also just go to Google and type in early vote plus your city and state, and it will give you all of the information that you need to get ready to vote. If you have never, I had never thought about working the polls before. But I think that working the polls would be absolutely fascinating. So I looked up working the polls, and in Dallas, you actually can get paid between $12 and $16 an hour to work the polls. So I might take the day off from work and go work the polls. It is a long day. I have a friend who let us know that she was already working the polls, and she's working like something like 6 a.m. to 9:30 in the p.m. So that's it's a long day, but I think that it's worth it to participate in our democracy. So I see that Dr. Janet is in the wings, and that's very exciting. So we'll bring her on in a minute. We've still got a few more announcements to make. So so take a breath, Dr. Janet. Take a breath and drink a little water, drink some coffee. You're good. You're good. So drink some tea. So today is National Boys and Girls Club Day for Kids. So if you were a part of the Boys and Girls Club, then today is your day. So happy National Boys and Girls Club Day. Today is also National Cleanup Day. I'm not sure what we're cleaning up, but it is National Cleanup Day. And I usually pick up trash on my runs, so I had already picked up some trash this morning. So I feel like I cleaned it up a little bit. So if you see some trash laying around in your street, pick it up. Today is also National Gymnastics Day, and that is quite the sport. Amy is looking at the squirrels eating out of our bird feeders.
I do apologize.
That is quite the sport. Gymnastics is a big time sport. So it is also Puppy Mill Awareness Day. Now, this one is rather a big time thing for me. Adopt. If you are looking for a best friend, please go to your local shelter. Please go to your the pound, any place where there is a high kill rate for strays and homeless puppies and kitties, and adopt. Just adopt. We need to put an end to puppy mills. They're horrific and terrible, and we hate them. So today is also Talk Like a Pirate Day. So I'm not really good at that, but Amy can do it. So if you want to talk like a pirate, then you go right ahead, because that is National Talk Like a Pirate Day. Today is also National Butterscotch Pudding Day. I'm not really a fan of butterscotch pudding, but if you are, then you should get yourself some. And then I support you in your choice of butterscotch pudding, but I'm not really a fan of that. It is also National Dance Day, so if you need to get up and shake your groove thing, then I 100% support you shaking your groove thing and getting a little shimmy shake going on, because I do love to shimmy shake. And today is also, going along with Puppy Mill Awareness Day, is also Responsible Dog Ownership Day. So if you get a best friend, then make sure to be responsible. Happy birthday, Little. Our fact for the day is rather interesting. We've got a couple. Helen says that she didn't know you could get paid for working the polls. I didn't know you could get paid for working the polls either, but you get paid for working the polls. You just need to check your local county to see how much they pay, because everybody's a little bit different. And I know that some counties pay, Little's going to start barking any second. So I know that some counties pay by the day, but Dallas County pays by the hour. So that's cool. Our Wellha fact for today is bones found at Seymour Island indicate that 37 to 4 million years ago, penguins, and I love me a penguin, penguins stood at a formidable 6 feet tall and weighed 250 pounds. That is a little scary.
Hi, baby.
Little says happy birthday to me. That's a little scary. I'm a little terrified of that. I can't imagine a 6 foot tall penguin bearing down on me with its 250 poundness.
They feel like a fish.
Yep, they're slick. They're slick like. Also, and this kind of is a little upsetting, 7% of American adults believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. I just don't even know what else to say about that. I'm going to leave that one right there, and I'm going to let y'all think about that one for a while, because that is a little gross. So all that being said, we're going to get right on to Dr. Janet. If Dr. Janet is ready, wave at us, Dr. Janet, if you're ready to go. She's ready to go. So we're going to just bring her right on. Dr. Janet!
Hi, Janet!
We all have our vote shirts on.
Woo!
We all have oh, yours is so cute.
I know.
Oh my God.
2016.
I love it. I love it. Ours is celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the vote.
I saw that on Facebook. I was going to get myself one.
Yeah, well, they're very comfortable. I love it. I love my shirt. So I did get a little bit of feedback about when Dr. Helen was on, because I was just like, it's Dr. Helen. And people were like, who the heck is Dr. Helen? So Dr. Janet Johnson, she is a lecturer at the School of Arts and Humanities for the University of Texas at Dallas. This is correct?
Yes.
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 And she has yes. She has a PhD in rhetoric and is very smart and is an expert in her field. And so we're very excited to have you on the show today. So we're just going to kind of get right into it. I mean, we lost Justice Ginsburg.
We lost.
I know.
It's a big loss. You know, Supreme Court justices are very important. And the one thing that we want to have is a Supreme Court that is nonpartisan, right? And correct. Who will serve all the people.
Exactly.
And have a balance of ideas. If we tip the scales, then we're not getting that balanced and serving all the people. So this is why it's so important to consider your vote. And some people might be joyous that this seat is vacant. Some people are destroyed by it.
Right.
But I think that we will see the true colors of our politicians come out in the next few weeks.
I think that
So
we did pretty quickly. I mean, I
yeah,
felt like when the announcement came out,
it became political.
announcements, it became very political. And I understand that politics moves very quickly, and I am not naive in that in any way.
Yeah.
But I did find it to be just really disrespectful that within 15 minutes, more announcements were coming out of we need to fill this seat now.
Yeah. And the one announcement, of course, from Mitch McConnell was, we will fill the seat.
Right. And I found that to be rather disrespectful. I would have rather have seen him say, we mourn the loss of
Yeah.
a great justice.
Her legacy. Talk about her legacy.
Right. And maybe have talked about her legacy a little bit. And then maybe today he could have talked about what he wanted to talk about. And
Right.
I feel like that he definitely did. And some of the other political leaders have definitely shown their true colors. I mean, we're talking within 30 minutes. I was just like, come on, people.
Yeah, it's like,
listen apart,
Yep, we should be talking about her legacy and her life and what
right.
she did for the Supreme Court, rather than rush to a decision that might not bring that legacy to the Supreme Court and might put a black eye to it. I mean, I was there.
Right.
I told you yesterday that I was there for the Kavanaugh route, protests in front of the Supreme Court. And that was by accident, really, that I was like, oh, let me go see what these people are doing in front of the Supreme Court, because I had a free day.
I like beer.
I like beer.
I like beer.
Well, I have a picture of this guy walking down the street. He's dressed as Kavanaugh with a big beer can. I have a picture of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a circus down here. And, I told you that I was walking out of the Capitol, the Dirksen building. So I was in the Library of Congress getting your sister, Dr. Helen, her gifts, because if I'm by the Library of Congress, it's a tradition to get Helen socks or a bookmark or something. We have to have something. So the Supreme Court is right next door to the Library of Congress. And I watched on my phone because I had been at the rallies and I had recorded them for my podcast, but I never made that podcast. And I'm rethinking that I need to revisit those tapes and sort of talk about what we went through that time.
Agreed.
And just the anger and the disrespect of citizens to push through somebody.
Yep.
But I looked on my phone at the Library of Congress and I'm like, oh, everyone's getting arrested at Dirksen and Hart, which is just like 2-3 blocks away.
Yeah.
So I said, so my mind was like, oh, let me go see what's happening over there. Let's go see.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? And so I told my cousin, I said, I'm over at Dirksen and Hart. He's like, I'm watching all this on the news and I'm looking for you.
Wow.
And so, because it was broadcast live while this is all happening. So I got there and the poor little security guard was like, the protests are over there. And I said, oh, I'm a professor. I'm just wanting to look. I'm not here to protest. I'm just here to document and to learn. And he looked at me like, are you crazy? But I'm so relieved you're normal, type of this. You're not this crazy person coming in. And so, I looked around and I found this interesting woman who, you don't understand how rallies are organized. Like, they are organized.
Right.
And they, have groups come in, bust in to do these protests. And she was one of them. And she was telling me, she's like, oh, since I was talking to my Republican friend, they all thought I was turning on them and they ousted me from the group. And I go, oh, that's interesting, huh? And it just shows the, diversity and the rift. And she says, and she was upset. And so we were walking around. I ended up walking around with her and trying to find, and I was trying to find the area because the rooms are open. So if you're in Dirksen and Hart, and I was like, walking past Elizabeth Warren's office, Ted Cruz's office, Mitch McConnell's office, you know, these iconic names, and their offices are right there. And so I'm looking around, there's Capitol Police everywhere. Like it was like, if you wanted to feel safe, you were in the right place.
Right.
You know, and my dad called and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I told him what happened." He goes, "Don't get arrested." And he says,
I'll do my
they're
best.
all angry. You know, you might end up in something. I said, "No, I'm away from all the crowds," and they had already like gotten rid of those people. So I come out of Dirksen and Hart, and I'm walking down the street looking for my metro stop, and I see someone looking really familiar and surrounded by all these Capitol Police.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really understand what was happening at the time or how big it was until after I got home.
Yeah.
And watched the news. And so I'm like walking, and I go, "Man, I know that person. Who is that?" And all of a sudden, out of my mouth, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Amy Schumer." And she was going into, she's surrounded by Capitol Police, and she turns around, she goes, "Hi." And I was like, all right. And so I just put on Facebook's like, "Oh my gosh, I just saw Amy Schumer surrounded by
another great Amy." Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I was like, my friend goes, "Janet, where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm right outside the Dirksen and Hart building." And she goes, "Amy Schumer just got arrested." I said, "Well, that explains all the Capitol Police."
Exactly.
So I'm walking to my metro stop, and I see all these people out in the park. And I asked one of the police officers, I go, "What's all those people in the park?" He goes, "Oh, those are the people we arrested."
Oh,
and they
just put them all in the park?
They put them all in the park and had them all lined up, sitting down. And they had a big, like an RV, a big RV, and I guess they were processing them right through.
Paddy wagon.
Wow.
Paddy wagon,
So
exactly.
I guess you would just, I'm sure they were probably just giving them tickets. Don't you think so?
Yeah,
I mean, why arrest all those people?
I think it was just like, okay, let's settle it down, diffuse, just give them tickets, give them warnings, give them, whatever, document that they were there. It was more about probably documenting.
Right.
And taking names. And so I was like, just walk past all these people just lined up, sitting down.
Wow.
In rows.
That's
it was amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's
so,
incredible.
but just having that, so I expect something similar to happen if they're going to try to push this through.
I expect that as well. I expect that as well. It with the vigils that started immediately last night, and then vigils all across the country today, in her honor, and there's, and as well there should be,
I mean,
she's an iconic judge that did so much for marginalized people across our democracy. So it's not like, I mean, you think about even, anyway, so I could go on and on and on about her, but
well, and she's the only judge that I know who has her own merchandise.
She embraced it. She embraced the notorious RBG.
Right.
She embraced that. She was like, "You're dang right."
Well,
you're dang right.
Merchandise has a gavel, whereas the other one had a beer. So gavel.
Yeah, I mean, the legacy for Kavanaugh will be, "I like beer."
And Saturday Night Live. I mean, that's sad, and it really kind of points to where we are right now in our democracy. Like, we are really at a pivotal point. I read a very interesting article earlier that this week that and researching for this show has really given me a lot of information. And that's why I was sharing so much this week, because I really wanted people to really, like, it's very interesting kind of where right now that
it is interesting.
It's really being equated to where we were as a country in 1868, not in the 1960s, but in the 1860s, when the white northern people were just kind of discovering how the freed enslaved peoples of the South were being treated, and how shocking that was to them. And how shocking it is to us to see kind of where we have allowed our democracy to land.
Yeah.
And it is very, it's frustrating. It makes me very angry. It makes me very sad. It's kind of like that 7% of people of American adults believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
Well,
that's kind of how I feel right now.
Well, and I go, oh, I know who they might vote for.
Exactly.
And you don't want to say that, but there's just so much misinformation.
Right.
And if someone says chocolate milk comes from a brown cow, you're going to have a sector of the population who's going to believe that.
Exactly.
And there's nothing you can do. You can argue until you're blue in the face, and they're not going to believe you.
You can show them the milk coming out of the cow, and that's going to be fake. So, there you go.
That you just painted that white cow brown.
Exactly. Yes. Well, and Becca and I were talking a little bit today, too, and obviously Ginsburg's passing yesterday sort of kind of blew my head up in general, but
everybody's head.
Yeah. And and I think a lot of us, especially I would say probably white folk, are wondering if this has always been this way and we're just now seeing it, and things like that. And my answer was, not only has it probably always been this way, but everybody's opinion wasn't on this.
Right.
Yes.
It was on this.
Yeah.
And every little thing I'm thinking, every little second I'm thinking it, here is this, method to get it out there. And then that on top of, the back of this has a camera where I can film everything that's going on in front of me at any point in time, and anything that, I feel like needs to get out there. I think it's just opening those windows and doors that unfortunately we didn't realize needed to be opened.
Right. Well, and they did need to be opened.
Yeah. And the one thing with social media and political rhetoric and learning about, you have to understand that when we first started the political process, George Washington just stood for election because he didn't want anyone to think he wanted to be king.
Right.
They just came out of that. So he was like, they didn't know what campaigning was. They were just like, choose me or not.
Yeah.
And until they started seeing the power behind the presidency, that's when elections started to really become nastier and dirtier. And so if you look through the ages, people were publishing pamphlets for this side, that side, political papers, and doing all these little things that, I remember reading, I think it was Van Buren's campaign, where I forget his running mate, but it was the first identity politics, where they would make up songs and make up, name calling and
interesting,
all these things that really, I want to say, propelled what we see in the modern campaign now.
Interesting.
And so I wrote about it in my book. And I get all my names mixed up in history sometimes.
Dr. Janet's got a book coming out, y'all.
So, the way what I have sort of talked about in my book, Amy, is what you brought up, is like, how did we get here? And you're right. Everything has been the same. There's nothing new that we're learning. It's just that the information is coming at us so quickly, and it's actually telling us what we didn't know what was happening with our politicians, what the dirty dealings people were doing behind the scenes. It really shows us, it just heightened our senses. So because of the constant information, and and you can't keep up. So whenever fake news comes through our feeds, we kind of discount it because there's so much information coming at us. We don't know what's true or not, and we're not vetting it.
Right.
And pretty much we just say, if we agree with it, I'm going to go ahead and share that.
Right.
true or not. And that tends to be, I think, our thing. And a lot of times I think we're just reading a headline.
Yes,
We're just saying this headline speaks to me, so I'm going to share this article that I've never even read.
Well,
right.
and
Well,
what I
look
also
at
find
that.
interesting as well is if you click on some of those headlines, there's not even an article in there.
No, it takes you to like a diet pill or
Yeah, it's
or
click. It's
an infomercial or something they want to sell you. It's not even
right,
a real site. And if it is
right.
a site, it is done so poorly that you're like, this can't be real. Because I'm going to tell you, I used to be a journalist. I've been to journalism school. I have a master's in journalism. And I can tell you right now that the one thing we do is vet. There's gatekeepers, and we try to have absolutely no misspelled words or factual misinformation, and we're going to tell you where we get our information. And
Exactly.
so if you've never heard of this doctor from somewhere telling us to ingest Lysol or something, you're going to you should question it.
Exactly.
and
You should
and I
really
think our
question it.
critical thinking, the one thing that I think that we don't have right now is media literacy. No one knows how to control this in their hands.
Right.
They don't know how to work this.
Right.
They think they do, but they don't. And a trained journalist does. But a normal person doesn't understand that they have an audience. Some people just think that they just tweet it out or put it on Facebook. No one reads it. It just goes out. But they have an audience. And
Yep.
that's what I think a lot of people don't understand.
Well, and it can become dangerous. It can become very dangerous with the things that you're sharing on any of your social media sites, because anyone can believe anything that you say.
Right.
And if they think that you are a trusted person, if somebody comes to my site and they think that they trust me because I'm a trustworthy person, I would hope that they would trust me. And they came to my Facebook page, and I put something on there that said something like I don't know, a ruby-throated hummingbird is actually purple. Like the whole bird. People would be like, oh my God, it's a purple bird. Becca, it's a purple bird. Instead of actually looking it up and finding out that it's not a purple.
Because they trust you and they trust that you vetted it. And they say, oh, Becca knows her birds. So
right,
this
Becca
must be, yeah, Becca likes birds. I've seen her post about birds. This must be true. And, that's the thing. No one is, we can't trust I hate to say this, but we can't trust our friends
we can't.
with information, because they are not our gatekeepers. They're not fact checking for us.
Well, and I think what's frustrating with that as well is that at that point, that's when you start to talk about being a responsible digital citizen.
Yes.
And
we have a life online, we have a life offline.
Right.
And what you do,
that kind of lie to your friend offline. Would you lie to your friend offline? No.
Well, that's the thing. No, but we have the screen between us. See,
exactly.
We're not in the same room. So
right.
if I don't see you and I'm typing, I don't care what your feelings are, because I don't have to experience them back.
Exactly.
Because there's a screen and I'm typing, and sometimes I can be anonymous.
Yeah.
Or a robot.
Or a robot.
Yeah, or a bot. Yeah, and most of the time when you're talking on, you're tweeting something, a bot will come on and try to
incite,
disrupt.
Yep.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, especially maybe our senior citizens and our older folks that don't know how to use this, and they don't understand social media, that they get on these comment sections and they argue, and they begin to argue, and they get furious at these comment sections, and they don't understand that they're arguing with a robot.
Yeah, basically think of it as arguing with a mannequin at the department store is probably the best way to put that.
Can you
Exactly.
imagine standing in front of a mannequin and being like, "You are wrong.
It's not for you.
This outfit looks terrible. I don't like those jeans, and that shirt is terrible. What is the matter?" You know,
Would you wear that out in public?
exactly. What would your mother say? You know, and so it can be frustrating that you have to explain to everyone now that you need to be a responsible digital citizen.
And it goes back to everybody needs a lesson in media literacy, and we need to start
Amen.
young. We need to start
Amen.
young. So, and because people are not, like I said, people have social media is still young.
Yeah, and
You know,
it's here to stay. It's here to stay.
Yeah, it's here to stay.
It's letters to the editor.
It's still brand new to us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see irresponsible people using such venues,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, in high powerful positions,
Mm-hmm.
people start emulating that.
Exactly.
And they think that's okay. But I'm going to tell you, we can lose our jobs because of it.
Right.
And people don't realize that people have lost their jobs.
Lots of people have lost their jobs.
Oh,
because yeah. And I mean, you know, I remember when the social media started to get big, and we were still with Whole Foods, and immediately we had to change to our general information guide where it talked about social media and posting on social media and how you treated social media. And every company has that now. Every responsible company has that now, has a social media clause that you can get fired for your social media behavior.
I've always felt like the telephone, the cell phone came out so fast and so furious, and everyone got one so quickly that it's like that happened before we put any kind of rules in front of it, you know, until we said this is also the socially acceptable way to use this. Or, you know, it's like we answer the phone and we say hello when we had an old phone, and you know, if it was a busy signal, you called back, and you probably went into another room to answer that phone because that's where the phone was located. You weren't bothering people who were trying to watch TV or doing other things. Like all of these sort of, you know, socially acceptable things with this, you know, you didn't take pictures inside. I can remember when I first started working at Whole Foods, you weren't allowed to take pictures inside of Whole Foods. I had to walk up to customers and say, no, you can't do this. And now we can't really do that because everybody's got a dang phone in their pocket. And, you know, anyway, it's just interesting. We didn't put together any kind of, you know, this is the polite way to use this before everybody had it and everybody was already using it.
Well, Dr. Helen says, arguing with someone whose only passion is to see you upset. They are not passionate about the issue that you are arguing. They just want to rattle your cage as far as they can. And I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
See a reaction.
Yeah. And I refuse to engage. And you know what I do with those people? I block them.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, it's the uncle at Thanksgiving who just sits there and pokes you the whole time until you finally turn around and go, stop it.
Exactly. Yep. And those are the instigators that, you know, that we have to watch out for and say no.
Exactly.
And remember, you have more control over social media than what you think.
You do. Yes. You have control over everything. It's all an algorithm, and this is some of the things.
Would you just let a stranger come into your house and start breaking things?
Exactly.
Or telling you
no.
things?
No. Yeah. No.
Exactly. And I will tell you that I have unfriended and blocked more people in the past 4 years than I have the entire time I've been on social media. And I will say that before I do it, I send a direct message to them and I say, hey, what you just posted is incorrect. Here is the site, PolitiFact, Fact Check, or Snopes that I checked. It's all on my paper, by the way, y'all. That's what I keep pointing. That I checked. And here is the information that I got, copy and paste, that proves that what you have just posted is incorrect. And I cannot tell you, almost every single response I get back is, I don't care. I just like to poke people.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I got? I confronted one of my longtime friends, who I had known since grad school, and she was posting really hateful, very disturbing content, and it was mostly fake news. And I said, I know you. I thought I knew you.
Yeah.
And I just don't think this is you. And she's like, you just don't want to know the truth. And I just said, well, this is why I'm unfriending you. So goodbye. And, and then she blamed my other friend, saying, you told her to do that. And
yeah,
no one told me anything. I could see with my own eyes. And
right.
I just refuse to have that, to be associated with that, and to be linked to that. And even though I might not have followed her in my feed, I just didn't want to be my name linked to that.
I agree with that 100%. And for me, it doesn't matter who you are in my life. It doesn't matter if you are a family member or a close friend. If you are posting content like that, then I'm not going to be friends with you on social media, because I try to be a responsible digital citizen.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I am continuing that, and that my name is not attached to somebody who is being irresponsible.
Right.
And tell us a little about the algorithms and how that kind of works, and what you know about that as far as social media goes.
Oh gosh, that's algorithms. I just know that when I bought a toilet and was looking in Google for toilets, on Facebook, the only thing I saw for a month, 2-3 months, was toilets. So
and then there's this whole
anything that I search for, it's like all of a sudden you get a ton of it on Facebook. So they're very precise. But if I started noticing the political ads that were popping up in my news feed, and whenever I started, how I am on Facebook, I try to teach people what they should be looking for, or what, just not telling you what you might think, but maybe to help change your mind on, maybe you should start thinking a different way, because this, having some evidence behind what is being said. And of course I've had people unfriend me because I'm being logical. I mean, I think
that. Bye.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm like, you can unfriend me, I don't care. If you don't, I'd rather you not be on my Facebook page, and at least you're not arguing with me.
Right.
Whenever I start doing that, I see political ads being targeted to, more of what the political leanings are, confirmation.
Right.
And I ignore those because I just, they're dangerous. They're very dangerous. And because I don't even know if they're real.
Right. Well, and I discovered this really great thing called Hide.
Well, yes, you can hide folks.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, no, you can hide ads.
Yes.
You can say, and you can report the ads. And I do a lot of reporting and that kind of stuff. Yep.
Danielle,
if I see something,
it was sweet to have a conversation with these folks. She just blocks them and keeps moving.
She does.
Me too, Danielle. I don't usually tell them why, but if they're posting anything that takes away my rights as a human being, then I don't think I need to be seeing their stuff. But I think one of the things that folks don't realize algorithm-wise is that you actually decide what you see on Facebook more than
you can. You can go into the back end, and people don't realize that you can go look and see what ads they have you targeted for, and you can change those. It's just like, I'm sorry, but I don't need ads for single men who drive tractors or something. It was like,
but they
random things like that, it's like
city folk just don't understand.
Folks just don't understand.
I live in Dallas, Texas. I don't live in the Rio Grande Valley anymore. It's like I choose the city life, not the farm life.
Right,
And,
for sure.
and in fact, I took off my marital status single because I just kept getting inundated with different types of singles.
Wow.
And so that has stopped. So once you learn the back end of Facebook and learn that you can opt out of stuff and opt in where you need to be, and target things that interest you, not what Facebook thinks, because Facebook will look at your page and say, oh, they like this because I like toilets, so I must be interested in toilets, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see.
I like beer.
So
I like
But
beer.
yeah, I mean, just on that example, which is a perfect, nonpartisan example of toilets, right? The same type of thing does happen when you start liking and sharing and talking about and commenting on and Googling and, whatever that case may be, your particular political thing or whatever that might be, that suddenly starts coming up on your page as well. I had one scary moment. I was helping open one of our stores back when I was working at Whole Foods, and they happened to have a shuffleboard inside this new store. So the store hadn't even opened at all. They had this shuffleboard game, and I thought in my head, wow, that's awesome. Like, the pinball machines we've had and stuff, they tend to break down. This shuffleboard game is really pretty. It's not going to break, and it's, nice in our little bars and things like that. Called my mom as I was on my way home because I used to, do that to get good mom time in. And I was like, yeah, they had this shuffleboard thing. I didn't once Google shuffleboard games. I didn't once try and buy a shuffleboard game in any form or fashion. And the next day, everything on my phone was shuffleboard. And, all I did was say it out loud, which means, she's listening. And so is the other devices around our home, things like that. And then Becca got a couple of shuffleboard things as well. So when you're connected on social media, you tend to, like, I'll turn to her and go, so you about to buy some socks? Because all that's coming up on my Facebook feed right now are running socks. And I don't run and don't need any socks at the moment. And Becca will be like, I just, bought some. But it's that same type of thing. The things that you're talking about, the phone is hearing, the things that you say, all of a sudden you're steered in a direction that is very similar to me as a cult would be, and that's all you're hearing.
And, going back to the brown cow and chocolate milk and the QAnon people and the conspiracy theory. I don't want to get too far into it.
For breakfast, but other than that, they were baby chickens, but they were babies. Yeah.
Okay, good. Just as long as Oprah wasn't there and Ellen wasn't there,
Ellen are not here.
Oh, they're always at our house.
Yeah.
But as I started thinking and reading about it, it's almost like a game to them. And the final product is, will Trump spread that conspiracy theory?
Isn't that interesting?
It's like, once I started, reading this New York Times article, I go, I go, I wonder, because they started talking about it as cosplay and gamifying. And I'm thinking, I wonder if the game is how far they can get Trump into this and to actually believing what is going on. And the joke is really on Trump.
Well,
but it's kind of a dangerous cult-ish thing. And that's even more dangerous. And more of these, I want to say, political agenda things, even with the Trump supporters and it's very cult-like behavior.
It is. It's very cult-like behavior, and it can be rather scary.
Yeah, it's almost like watching the Branch Davidians again.
Well, especially when they're telling us to drink bleach, I suddenly see the video of the Jones, people dying of the Kool-Aid thing.
Yeah, it's like they had a heightened. I read that after Trump had said that, poison control had more calls. It rose, increased.
Apparently, it was true that people were actually giving it a try, but it's like when our sports folks or our musicians or anyone that we idolize talks about something, they have to be very careful once they get into that public eye, because they can, get you to do something that, that they're doing when that may or may not be good for you. And I think that's what's happening now.
Yeah. That's why I was going to say, that's why it's very dangerous for everyone to be saying fake news, because the one thing journalism is there for is to protect us from the powerful and to have those checks and balances. Because the movie, there was a brilliant line in there saying, journalism is for the governed, not for the governors. And you have to remember that. It's like they're there to reveal these things. It might not be all at once, but it makes you say, maybe I shouldn't be thinking about spraying Lysol in my mouth or Lysoling my tongue today, or,
Well, and I also, it's also very interesting that people they'll call certain things news that are not. So, and I think with the advent of 24-hour news stations, that there's that fantastic scene in So I Married an Axe Murderer, where he's talking to his mom, and his mom is reading a gossip rag. So she's reading one of those, supermarket rags that you get that is incorrect. And he's a tabloid. Thank you. And he's like, Mom, you should be reading the paper. And she's like, this is the paper. It is the paper. And it's a tabloid that she's reading. And so it's not true. And I feel like that a lot of the news that people are watching is actually opinion news and not actual news.
Yeah, you have to understand, Sean Hannity is not a journalist. He's a entertainer type opinionator. And we have, we framed these, when cable news came about, they started framing these shows, putting someone behind an anchor desk with all the elements of journalism, but without the journalism.
Exactly.
And people are confused because they see the desk, they see a person who looks credible, and they see stories framed, but they don't realize that they are opinionators, and opinionators and journalists are two separate things.
Right.
Sean Hannity is nothing more than a talk show host.
He's a talk show host. Exactly.
He's a talk show host.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. He's a talk show host. And that's exactly what it is. And
even Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. And it's not, Oprah is not a journalist.
No.
Ellen is not a journalist.
She doesn't claim to be. She's like, no. I left journalism behind.
But exactly was one.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was one, but now she's like I believe she thinks of herself as a storyteller.
Right. And Oprah can do whatever she wants.
Oprah can do whatever she wants. Oprah can, Oprah has a following.
What you can do with power and how you can influence people.
Exactly.
If she said, pine nuts were good for you and healthy and could help you lose weight, or whatever the thing was on her show, the grocery store would sell out of pine nuts that day. And, she didn't give us a heads up so we could order more pine nuts. So, and it wasn't pine nuts, but, whatever vitamin it was, whatever, thing it was.
Green. I remember the show about green tea, and everyone went out and bought green tea, and we drank it because she said that helped us, it was healthy for us.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. A metabolism booster.
It's a metabolism booster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which at least that's true.
Well, and that is actually true. Like green tea is actually a metabolism booster. So
and it is healthy for our heart and things like that.
Yeah, I drink green tea every day, so it's good for you.
Me too.
But it is. I find it very interesting. Like when you talk to folks and you say, "Hey, what are you doing?" and they're like, "I'm watching the news," and you're like, "Well, what news are you watching?"
Yeah.
What is it that you're watching all day long? Because I can tell you that there's a lot of stuff going on, but there is not so much news that all you are watching is actual news.
Well, you have to understand that with CNN, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they have 24/7 news.
Mm-hmm.
They have to fill that time. So they get
Yep.
people just to talk. Have you ever just, sometimes you just want the breaking news. So you go to those cable channels to see, because they usually have a lot of boots on the ground.
Right.
And you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden they start with the boxes, right? They have boxes everywhere, and all these talking heads assuming. They don't know. They're just assuming.
Yeah.
But I am a full believer in CBS News, NBC News, and ABC News, the network news, because they have a 30-minute show with real journalists and a proven record for accuracy.
Right.
And
exactly.
It's about the news. It's about the news. And, I was watching Norah O'Donnell the other night, and I was like, I like this news because it's news.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling me not what to think, but here's the facts.
This is what happened.
And it's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why I tell people, why don't you pick up a newspaper?
Right.
Like, freaking read the newspaper, man.
Someone says, where did you hear that? And I said, I have a subscription to the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Exactly.
Because I just think that if I'm going to do this, I need to go to the sources that, I fully, the New York Times have gotten kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of mad with them because, well, they kind of are wanting to make you think what they want you to think. So just like with Tom Cotton, we might not like Tom Cotton, but he is a congressman, right? And if he writes an opinion piece, we shouldn't censor what a congressman has to say. We can disagree with it, and we can argue, and we can tell them. But then the New York Times comes on and says, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just, we're really sorry. We shouldn't have done that. No, the Washington Post then came out and said, why are you apologizing? He's a national figure who has a voice, and he obviously has people who support him. His opinion should be out, because then people can see and hear what he has to say.
Exactly.
And maybe they will change their mind. Maybe it will start a discussion, but you shouldn't just cancel people because you disagree.
Exactly.
And you shouldn't have one opinion. And that's where I think that journalism has to, what journalism has to figure out to survive is that we might not agree with everybody's opinion, but everyone's voices should be heard, because we don't want to fall into, you need to think like me, because isn't that what America was built on? Different ideas, different beliefs. We can believe in anything, not as long as we don't hurt anybody. Right. But I feel like we're starting to hurt people.
We are. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And I just feel like with social media, for Biden to win, the radical liberals have to stop with the cancel culture and saying, if you don't believe this way fully, then you're a bad person.
Right.
And the ultra conservatives who are saying, you're not going to tell me what to do, I'm going to go hurt. I don't care who I hurt. They need to stop. We need to get back to that moderate. We have to stop swinging the pendulum to say, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. It's not working.
No, it's not working. Propaganda, which is almost always based on falseness.
Right.
And that's why Trump gains momentum with gaslighting, name calling, because I read this book by George Lakoff called The Political Mind. And I used some of his ideas in my book, and talking about repetition. That's how Trump wins. He repeats it. So the news repeats it because they have to report, right? And then it goes into our vocabulary. So now we're calling voting rigged. We're calling fake news. We're calling
I've never heard that word.
Sleepy Joe, things like that. So people,
Nancy Pelosi's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
right. Exactly. And so that
Pocahontas, which is my
repetition
least
changes our
favorite
brain.
one.
Yeah. And it changes our brains.
Yeah,
So
it
let's talk
changes our
about your
brain.
book a little bit.
Okay.
You've got a book coming out. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Okay.
And your book is called Political Rhetoric, Social Media, and American Presidential Campaigns. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. And it's coming out in December, right?
Yes. The date that is on the website is December 15th. And I feel like that's all I know. I'm supposed to be getting the proofs on October 5th. So I'll get to see the cover for the first time, and so it'll be exciting.
How exciting.
So,
And
yeah,
so tell us a little bit about what your book is, obviously the title kind of gives it away, but like kind of what you talk about in your book.
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier with Amy saying how media has everything has been the same. It's just changes every once in a while because of our new media technology. So I take you through that to pivotal times in American presidential campaigns on their media use and who really, who really became the pioneer of getting that technology and using that media, and how that changed, other campaigns, and how even people, I found this article about radio, and you would have thought it was about social media.
Really?
People were scared about it. People were saying it would confuse people with too much information, and they were going to listen in on you because it was a box in the house. And I was like, oh, if they only knew what was coming with Alexa, right?
Yeah, right.
I better not say anything. She'll start talking.
I mean, there's a great line from American President where, he says, if everybody had a TV in their room, they don't elect a president in a wheelchair. That's not something that we, although we have elected a governor in one with a television now, but television did change things. People had to be better looking, better dressed, better, more charismatic. Somebody be able to date, that kind of comes into play as well with the television. So on the radio though.
Yeah, but the radio, you talk about that. Radio was, oh my gosh, I can't repeat that speech. I have to write a new speech every time I talk because it's going to be broadcast now. Because now it was only up to print. They were just printing what they were saying. And who knew when people would get that? Now people were going to be listening and getting it right when I'm talking.
Right when you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they couldn't, I think it was like Boogaloo or something. They couldn't, throw this, they had to be truthful and more authentic. Then, like Amy said, with television, with JFK and Nixon, if you look at the research and that famous debate between Nixon and JFK, radio listeners who only listened to the radio with the debate, they said Nixon won. If people watched it on television, they said JFK won.
Wow.
Because Nixon had the flu that day, and he was sweating and not feeling well, and he was kind of pale, but his answers were all there. I also go through, so that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 goes through a brief history of political media and how, we went from how they reported and how we kind of got into, like, I talk about, was it Comedy Central, the Daily Show, and how that has really boosted the fake news and the Onion and this acceptance of satire that we didn't have at the time. And then I talk about how the inventor of the internet doesn't really like what's happening with all this. Yeah. And then I talk about how Dan Rather, lost his job because he accepted a fake, put on a fake document. But now I'm like, who's getting crucified now? Nobody. Nobody. So then I go into how blogs helped the Barack Obama campaign and Twitter helped the Mitt Romney campaign, because blogs for Barack Obama, Twitter wasn't really hot back then. I mean,
Right.
we had it, but it wasn't considered serious. And even in 2012, they were kind of, and then the presidential campaign narratives, I go through the 2016, how campaigns are structured, and what the campaign story is. And then I talk about Hillary Clinton being a cyborg candidate, where we didn't even think she was almost fictionalized in 2016, because there was so much stuff coming at her about her cough, just things that she never changed her story, and for years. And she did that. Not changing hurt her. And people still didn't trust her. She had credibility problems. Then I talk about Donald Trump's trickery, and talking about how his propaganda, he's a propaganda rhetorician. And the only thing he talks about is, he's just, his rhetoric is bombastic and filled with hyperboles and colloquials, so
it's fear mongering
and
just telling you what to be afraid of, and that he's sure that person's not going to come into your neighborhood.
So I kind of tried to take you through, like, okay, we had Obama, who set the precedent of, what social media campaigning could be like, and set the White House campaign, website and social media, and then tracing other campaigns to say how it evolved. And you have to say that Trump has owned Twitter. He's the one who has really, giving him credit on how politicians can use Twitter to get noticed. Because let's face it, anytime he tweets, it's on the news. He knows how to use media against the media.
Exactly. And it's brilliant and terrifying at the same time.
It is. And people want to say, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing, but I disagree with that.
Doing.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Yeah. He knows exactly what he's doing.
It's fun to think he's a moron, because he's sometimes moronic, but I don't think that that's actually the case.
Right. No, I think he's a brilliant con artist.
Yeah.
I think he's the con of the century,
Yeah.
I
think he had the people working with him were helped him get to where he's got, Roger Stone, all those con artists.
Yeah, they're all
and people might disagree with me. Just looking at the evidence and the proof, and and all the articles and the people. But I'm kind of curious about, have you heard about this person anonymous that's supposed to come out before the election, somebody in the administration that's supposed to speak out against Trump and tell you the truth?
No, I don't know about this.
He did a op-ed. I don't know if it's a woman or a man. And he's supposed to come out, and everyone's like, when's Anonymous coming out? So he's coming, or she's coming.
Interesting. Well, I definitely have to Google that too.
Yeah.
Just don't Google QAnon, because those people are scary and they will come after you.
It's so complicated. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
I would like to know how we can propagandize, if that's the word, compassion. Just a little bit. And compassion. Steer things back to actually caring about one another a little bit more. And I
think I had one quote that I looked at in my book yesterday, in Trump just to remind myself what I wrote about, because I write things and I forget what I wrote about. So I wrote a whole book and I can't even remember what I wrote.
It'll be like a brand new book for you. You'll be like,
it's like, this is a good book.
Yeah, it's a fascinating book.
Pictures on the back.
Oh, I wrote that.
Look how smart I am.
Well, I am pretty smart. Who wrote that? I was looking at the Trump chapter, and they were saying, well, how can you combat the demagogue type of rhetoric?
Right.
And one of the quotes said, you combat it with civic rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the one thing that you have to do is, instead of arguing, go and start talking about compassion, empathy, start combating it with civility, and not engaging those, don't, like, I stopped quote to adding Trump's tweet and then adding something.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, that's just spreading his message.
Exactly.
But what I can do is sort of teach someone or what to look for maybe in other things. And besides that, but I stopped doing that and stopped responding to every single little nuance that was coming out, because that's not productive.
Right.
And I think with Biden, just to say that no candidate is ever going to be perfect. And people think that, oh, you think Biden's perfect and we should vote for him. No, he's just,
everyone thinks Biden's perfect.
No, exactly. I know nobody who's happy
where
with
I need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to think about the direction that you want. Do you want hope, or do you want to live in fear? And
exactly.
I hate to be that cliche, but you have to vote sometimes for people that you might not want to vote for, because when you go to vote, and this is what I did in 2016, I wasn't happy with Trump, I wasn't happy with Hillary, right? And I sat there and said, well, who's not going to kill me? Has the better qualifications. I looked at the resumes.
Right.
And that's what we have to do.
Forgotten about the resume, haven't we? I mean, if anyone had a better resume for a presidency, it was Hillary Clinton.
It was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, hands down. And I fully believe to this day she would have been a great president.
She would have been
I think she was a great president during the Bill Clinton years.
I agree with that.
And there's a lot we could say about Bill, but there's so much compromise, and no matter who's in office, there's going to be compromise. Your side is gonna win a little bit, and my side is gonna win a little bit.
Yeah,
we come together with something that doesn't hurt other people.
Well, when we vote for somebody, and whoever, even if your candidate doesn't win, we can then go fight and advocate through our representatives to be our voice. And we can try to change our politicians' minds a little bit. It might not be perfect, but the whole idea of government is to come together and work for the citizens. But right now we're seeing politicians only work for the politicians, in my opinion.
Exactly. And I 100% on both sides. And I 100% agree with that. And instead of saying both sides, I would say all sides, because there are a lot of different political parties out there right now that are bringing themselves to the table, and they are going under the guise of one side or the other.
Right.
I feel that if we ever want to be the country that we have had this idea of this whole time, because our country has never come to the fruition of what our founding fathers tried to make this country. We've never gotten there. No. Not everyone is free. Not everyone is free of religion. Not everyone is free to practice their religion or not. Not everyone is free to be who they are and love who they want to love. It's not what we have established or what we tried to establish. But to be able to do that, we need to be able to come at our politics with compassion, to be able to include everyone.
Right.
To let
we need to be inclusive.
Right. We need to be a 100% inclusive country. And that's you have to stop looking at I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican.
Right.
And that's
like, stop with labels. There's an actual organization that is called No Labels. And what they do is they have a gathering, a convention of Democrats and Republicans. And I'm talking senators, House of Representatives, people. And you can call your representative and actually ask them if they are involved in No Labels. And what they do in secret, they go and say, okay, what can we do to help with healthcare? What can we do with these issues that are not, that we can come together on, decide on, and then they propose it to Congress. And and so they call it No Labels. And I'm like, what a great organization that promotes everybody to say, listen, we're not in it for Democrats or Republicans. We're in it for different ideas to bring our country to not only together, but also to raise us up to where we want to be as Americans. Right. And we're not there yet.
We're not. We're far from there. We're far.
And we have to stop saying I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican all my life, or I'm a Democrat. Because there can become a time when the Democrats won't like their candidate, and it might be a Trump type person.
Exactly.
And you might have to vote Republican. That day can come. And
you just blew Amy's mind. And it is what it is. Like, we really need
a long line of Democrats.
Well, what we need to do is that's one of the reasons why it's so important to vote for your local elections, to vote in your state elections, and to make sure that you're communicating with your representative.
Right. And if you don't like something, I've written to my I've written to my senators and my House of Representatives, and one time I actually got a call back from I was like, oh, Capitol Hill is calling. I wonder what they want. This is just a natural occurrence, and they were just like, hey, thank you, and asking me more questions, and I thought, wow, that was really cool, but we have to stop with the labels and start saying, okay, what are we trying to achieve this time?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I think with this election, we just need normalcy.
Yep. We do.
We need to stop having to be afraid of what the next thing is going to be.
Right.
We need somebody to kind of be a leader.
Be a leader
and actually tell us it's all going to be okay. It's scary right now, but it's okay.
We're going to be okay. Agreed. Right. So I feel like Barack Obama did a really good job of, we can probably just leave that sentence there. But one of the things that I think he did is he got young people to vote, and he got people to vote. He, and regardless of what party they voted for, regardless whether they voted for him or Hillary in the primaries, he was really a grounds mover as far as getting young people involved and getting people to vote. So how do we do that this time around? I mean, we've only got, a month and a half. How do we get these people?
45 days now.
45 days.
45 days. Well, the one thing that Barack Obama did was when Facebook really got big, his campaign website, you could sign up and it was like Facebook.
Oh.
So what he did was you could have a campaign fundraising page yourself. You put little buttons and you fundraise, and just like we were talking about, if my friend is doing it, maybe I should be doing it. It's those, opinion, masters that you right. And so I think that what Obama's campaign manager did, David Plouffe, is that he believed in going where the audience is going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the audience is on Snapchat, we're on Snapchat. If they're on TikTok, we're getting Biden on TikTok, you know.
Right.
I mean, just think about how many TikToks Obama and Michelle would have done by now.
Oh my God,
right?
it would be constant. Yeah.
It would, yeah. So you have to be where these people are.
Exactly.
And you can't just disregard saying, I'm not going to go on that website. That's, you know, no, you're going because there's an audience there. They also had their own Nielsen rating system. So they could track. Yeah, there was some big data going on in the Obama campaign. So I have a feeling that some of that has carried over probably to Joe Biden. But what needs to be done is Democrats need to be where everyone's at. They need to stop with the cancel culture and really come around and say, with moderate ideas. I think moderation is what will win the election.
I agree.
I don't think radical ideas. We tried radical this last time.
Right.
Let's go back to what we need to do.
Right.
Which is
yeah. I think people just want a job, and they just don't want to have the coronavirus anymore.
Yeah, we need someone to take control, get this coronavirus under control, get us jobs, and to lead us back into a promising. Now, you know, the one thing I believe is we shouldn't have one type of politician every, you know, few years. It's okay to change, but we can't keep changing drastically.
Right.
And I think Obama was such a drastic change for some people that they're like, wait a minute, my world. And now you want a woman? You know, and I think that's what happened to Hillary. And then now we have some familiarity with women running for office, and especially mixed races, you know, with Obama. And now we have Kamala, and now it's become familiar. And I think that, you know, just with Biden saying, hey, we got to stand up to this guy. I'm not afraid of the bully. And if he keeps that fire in his belly on September 29th and he goes after Trump with facts and really hones in on the truth and compassion, then he will destroy Trump. But Trump is going to go for the jugular. So
he's gonna lie. He's gonna name call. He's gonna do the whole 9 yards.
He's gonna drown as many people as he can on his way there.
Yep.
And Biden will be there to say, this is what really is.
Right.
And that's how he wins. But it comes down to people getting mad enough and getting, you know, RBG, that's a big blow. And I think even if you might have been Republican, that might have been a blow to you as well.
Yeah.
Or somewhat moderate conservative. It will motivate.
Actually show solidarity with her. It's, regardless of what you're going to vote for, just vote. That's what she was about.
Vote.
Yeah, vote. But with Biden, George Bush's former administration has set up a 43 for Biden sort of super PAC. And they said, look it up. It's really fascinating, their website. And they said, does this not make me a Republican anymore? And they said, oh no, this makes you American.
Exactly.
We still have our Republican beliefs.
Yeah.
But this is about saving our country from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And they came out, these Republicans that worked in his administration created 43 for Biden, and they've been promoting even Project Lincoln. Project Lincoln was a Republican organization, and now they are all in Biden, and they are producing some really, really compelling content with ads. And they said, we'll go low so you don't have to.
Hey, that works for me.
That works for me.
So,
and I think at this point, I think we're fighting for our democracy at this point, and I'm not trying to be apocalyptic or anything like that, But I mean, I literally feel like we are fighting for our democracy, and it's going to take all of us to get it back.
We're fighting corruption right now.
I've never seen so much corruption. I mean, it is.
Just think, people don't think that the Mueller report did anything. Oh, it did something. It opened 14 cases, federal cases against Trump. It has put Manafort behind bars. Steve Bannon, all these other people. Now, let's think about the Obama campaign. No one has gone to jail, and not one president has had a tell-all book by people who worked for them that I know of. I don't know of any book that was written about Obama without it being glorious, or Bush even, or Clinton, or even George H.W. or Reagan. So just think about in the short time.
Perfect.
Right. In the short time Trump has been president, he's had how many books written about him?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
So someone's trying to tell us something, and we need
somebody
to start
is telling us something. We've got it when we have to start listening. So, like we talked about last night when we were talking while we were going to pick up dinner, we could talk forever.
I know, and we have. I think I was the longest guest.
but I think we have exhausted what we need to say today. But our conversation will continue, and we're very excited about your book coming out. I cannot wait to get a copy of that. And we will be having you back again as a guest on November
7th.
On November 7th, for a follow-up episode after the election. So that's going to be rather fascinating. So
November 3rd.
Yes, November 3rd. Everybody vote. Make sure that you go vote. Dr. Janet, we appreciate you being on, and we can't wait to have you on again. And we sure do appreciate it. So we will chit and chat with you later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Dr. Janet.
Bye, Dr. Janet. So I don't know, but that was that I felt like that was one of our most productive chats. So vote. Make sure that you are not pushing propaganda. Please vet your resources. Please, you got politifact.com, .org, Snopes.com. We did post all of those things this week. I will also drop them in the chat box for y'all again and post them again. Make sure that you are that you're checking your facts before posting, and be a good digital citizen. Be a responsible, good digital citizen. And we can't wait to talk next week. Join us again next week. We're going to be talking to our local bakers, Crestridge Farms Bakery. So y'all go check them out, crestridgefarms.com, and check out their baked goods, which are amazing. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram for all of our posts and content. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.